Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another week of the NLC. It is week 6, day 2, and the playoffs race is really heating up here after yesterday's result. It is an honor to yet again be back on broadcast. My name is Douglas, and as always, I am joined by Rude, and I finally learned you're on this side.
There you go. Very well done. Yeah, we're back. And this is actually our final regular season cast for the Split Duckling. It's a sad day, honestly. It means, though, that we are down to, 3 days left. Hotting up at the top of the standing. And as you mentioned, right, playoffs is actually fully in the works. We've got not just seeding contention, but which teams are going to be making it as well. That Vanir versus Verdant battle still really ongoing. I can't actually, thinking that these games today are maybe the best days that we've had, because we've got games across the entire standings, which I genuinely think can be split between who wins.
Yeah, it is an exciting day to say the least. So let's take a look at the schedule to highlight it. Nativz still looking for their first win, but Vanir really need to win this game before heading into a hard week 7. So the pressure is on them to keep up their solid form here, as Verdant also take on Riddle. Verdant still looking to secure that playoff spot. And later on in the match of the day, I think that is fair to say, as Nord Esports take on Ruddy. Ruddy 9-2, looking to get that top 2 spot, so we'll have to defeat Nord here if they want to keep that hope alive. And then to round out the day, Rude, we have Unique Esports up against Domino, 2 of the 2 and 9 teams going up against each other, fighting for some championship points.
Yeah, 2 of the 2. And exactly, championship points is right. Just because there's not too much on the line in terms of playoffs. If we head into the second round of summer as well, you want to be making sure that you've got as much championship points as possible so that you aren't in the promotion relegation battle as we head into the 2024 NLC. So it might not seem like a lot right now, but the seeding and the tiebreakers that are potentially on their way for that 6th, 7th position also do have bearing on the standings and bearing on the larger scape of the NLC.
Yeah, I mean, it might be the first day of spring in real life, but it is certainly not the first day of spring here in our season, because, we are getting at that close. And just to keep you all updated on how things are looking at the moment in terms of standings, at first place, we do have both Nord and Riddle still shared at that 10-1 score 1, but just behind them, chasing the top 2 spot, we do have Ruddy, who is 9-2. That's really all you need to know for the top 3. They have all locked playoffs. It's just the seeding we need to figure out. And then for the last playoff spot, we have 2 different teams battling out. It is Vanir at 5-6, and it is the side of Verdant at 6-5.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning there is a very strong possibility for a 3-way tie at the top of the table come the close of the season. If we find Ruddy taking the win here today, they've got a great match against Nord that I think they're going to be prepped and primed for, right? We saw earlier on in the season that the Riddle versus Nord matchup was Riddle-sided. They managed to take that win, and that if Ruddy, having been the only team to best Riddle, can take that form and continue it into a victory versus Nord here, that 3-way tie with both teams having traded wins and losses against one another can go into a 3-way tiebreaker come the end of the season to determine who goes into that juggernaut match, who goes into the 3rd place, 4th place match as well. There's a lot on the line for these games today, as well as setting expectation for the future of the playoffs.
And talking a little bit more about Ruddy, we do have teams, invested in content this year, and I have been informed we have a very exciting video about Ruddy to show you guys here today. We'll show it more than once, I promise you that much, but I want to take a look at it already and see the banger content they've managed to put out.
Don't know what to say, really. I guess he must have taken the knock from losing to Nord pretty badly. One day he was Don Jake, the next he was telling everyone to call him Don Jacques. I think the man genuinely believes he's French.
Excuse me, monsieur, why are you recording me?
One of the weirder things is that Jacques now believes he's from Montpellier, where the LEC finals are going to be held later in the year, but I was there at his christening. Man was thrown into Camden Canal and fished out with a barge pole.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. As far as I'm concerned, I've always been French. I bleed for blue, and all these people that are saying that it's a fake persona that I'm putting on, they need to tatouage, as my people would say.
Most important, probably for all of us, is how these new habits and actions are negatively affecting life in the flat.
What are you doing? Cease and desist immediately! excuse me, sir, monsieur, this is my private domicile. You cannot disturb or harass me in here. This is a joke, it's a farce. What are you?
By far the most frustrating thing about all this all is how incredibly embarrassing it all is in public. He can't even keep it up for 10 minutes. I mean, one moment it's une table pour deux, the next he sounds literally like he's Del Boy from Only Fools and Horses.
Can I get 4 boneless chicken thighs, 2 regular thighs please, and a drink please?
If Ruddy loses to Nord again, I'm pretty sure that's it. Jake's not coming back.
That was actually a lovely banger. I didn't manage to watch the full video before we went live, and obviously great to see Initialized face in here as well. Again, a missed face here on the NLC. As wow, that was a banger. I really liked Jake's accent. It was actually pretty good. It sounded very French at the very least.
Yeah, authenticity, 10 out of 10, clearly for the impression. Also, bang Nando's order has to be said quickly. Get that one out there as a Brit. Gotta. Yeah. Respect where it's due. But we get to see, that's our third game of the day. Quite if we're going to get to see full French Jacques or if Don Jake gets to return after a win. I think that for the sake of standings, that would be more entertaining if we do see Ruddy win. Of course, I know there are just a couple of Nord fans out there that are potentially angling for a Nord victory themselves. You can see that is our match of the day as well. Rosters lineups unchanged actually for these two teams, obviously throughout the entire split. And that's quite a testament, I think, to both of these rosters and to how well they're doing. I know that the issues with Riddle were injury related, but I've been excited to see their little change up. But with the 5 versus 5 nature of these teams, there's actually, good to see them all on the same page and growing as a unit, right?
Yeah, I really do like our top teams. I think they've all shown good levels, but they have all also shown cracks, especially looking at Nord after yesterday's narrow victory up against Verdun, our 4th place team. So the matchup between Ruddy and Nord just got that much more interesting, and same goes for our second game of the day. Verdun will be looking to pick up that crucial win against Riddle to secure that playoff spot because, Vanir actually hot on their heels after taking down Verdun just a couple weeks ago and, keeping that playoffs race alive. And talking more about Vanir, talking more about Nativz, let's bring it into our first game of the day because it is a very important one for Vanir, as next week they have 2 tough games. So this is really a must-win for them.
It is. If they don't find the win here, then they aren't out of playoff contention. It just means that they have to perform some incredible upsets come the close of the season. They're up against 2 of the top 3 teams. If memory serves, it is Riddle and Nord that they've got to play up against. So
Nord and Ruddy.
Nord and Ruddy. Either way, right? The caliber doesn't particularly sway from any of those 3 teams, and them not finding a victory here really puts them in a difficult spot with respect to trying to make it into playoffs. They obviously have a 1-1 in that head-to-head with Verdun, so they'd get to play a tiebreaker match should they go into a 2-way tie, but it is obviously a very difficult task for them. The expectation, I think, for today is that Vanir are going to level up those standings, but the week 7 strength of schedule is what we're looking for in terms of why we think that the Verdun are going to be able to clinch it. But you mentioned, right, we need to bring it back to today. Nativz versus Vanir, obviously our first matchup of the day, and Nativz, with their schedule as well, I think they've got a good couple games to try and find that win. I think that Vanir actually may be one of the more difficult challenges that they face for the closeout of the split, but there is an opportunity with them playing week 7, I believe they've got Domino as well. So there's a world where they find a victory at the close of the split, and I think that should just be the goal.
Yeah, I mean, it is the goal at this point, right? You're 0-11 at this point. You've had an 11-game loss streak. And to kind of talk a little bit more about this in this particular matchup, Nativz, this is that hardest opponent they have left in the split, Unique and Domino being the last 2. Vanir on a 3-game winning streak is really, really impressive considering they have only managed to pick up 5 wins. I'm saying only here because I don't actually think that's the right
only
word.
5
Having
wins.
picked up 5 wins is really impressive considering only 5 teams been able to do that. So overall, I'll give them an A+ on that performance in the latter half of the split. The question is it too little, too late, or can they keep this form going and just build that momentum? Because as you say, their week 7 schedule is so hard. They will need this 4-game win streak and that momentum to carry them along.
And hopefully, right, this is the organization that, or not necessarily the organization, but a group in the NLC region at the very least that have been intrinsic to a lot of growth, I think. They've been playing. I remember the Vanir name from when I was a commentator on PUBG, right? PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. They were in that space for a long time. They're now transitioning in and having this roster in League that is making at least waves where teams I don't think had expected them to at the start of the split. This is giving some life and giving some breadth back to the NLC and creating these storylines that we obviously, the storytellers, like to be able to portray to the people at home. Because there was a large portion of the early stages of the split where it looked like, okay, we've got our top four, we've got our bottom four, and then when Vanir turned that game against Verdant, or they didn't even turn it, they just had the game the entire game, it felt like. But when they found that win, it created this seed of doubt, which has since grown into a really strong chance at them knocking out Verdant from playoff.
The thing is, though, going up against a team with nothing to lose and an 11-game loss streak, you know, the script almost writes itself for an upset here, right? Because so much pressure is on Vanir. And, you know, Nativz, they're laid back in that chair. They're just going to play a game. They're going to see if they can get that W. But if not, I mean, they have next week to try again. For Vanir, this is so important, and they must not slip now.
No, exactly. And they have obviously played Nativz, with those couple of roster changes, Seaball and Scuffed having been brought in a couple of weeks respective. I really am enjoying what Seaball has brought to this Nativz roster. A lot of aggressive junglers being pulled out, right? We've seen the Elise, we've seen the Xin Zhao, Nocturne, Diana, things all played by Seaball. And I think that when we looked at his entry during week 3, I believe it was, or week 4, it was, this Nativz squad has got a little bit of life to them now. We're not just sticking to this sort of stock standard approach to League of Legends, which hadn't been working for them, but there was a little bit of ingenuity in the jungle, at the very least an attempt to get the ball rolling. And I want to credit this to all of our NLC teams, actually, that when they're losing, we're seeing a tendency to lose fast by making plays and them not going well, as opposed to a slow 40-minute bleed out, which I would definitely associate a lot more with our earlier games in the season.
Yeah, it has definitely changed, I should say, over the course of the split. And for Nativz, we had some positives to take away from that early game just last week when we casted them, but in the end, they weren't able to keep up those small positives and build that into a victory. This game, though, it could be different. I think a lot depends on the draft. If Nativz gets the right tools to play for their players who, you know, all on paper are good enough mechanically to be here, I would say, in terms of what I have seen them do, they should be able to get that W. And as we now go over to the draft, we are having to catch up. Now let's just see what happened, because jungle and mid lane already locked into the side of Nativz, while the bot lane and jungle is the focus for Vanir.
Okay. Right. I'm catching up. I'm processing right now. We have... I don't know how I feel about the Xayah, but I do like Lilia as a champion. Just period. I think that Lilia is a very good answer to the Sejuani in particular. You can kite out the Sejuani quite easily. You might have to go into a Mercury Treads build, just with the amount of CC that Sejuani has, but I don't think that's something that's going to be too detrimental. And so far, Nativz have built up this composition that is largely focused around range. They've got actually a lot of poke. Lilia may not seem like it, Sivir not necessarily seem like it, but Boomerang Blades under turret Swirl Steeds actually can act as a form of engage if they're landing. And of course, Jace's poke doesn't really need to be mentioned. We know going into the second round of bans that there's a support and a mid lane missing from Nativz. Expect those pools to be pinched, probably the support role, if I had to guess, from Vanir, but they also have to blind their mid laner. So 50-50 odds are honestly where they could go with it. No bad bans, it really has to be said. And then that top side, it looks like going to be the ban pool for Nativz. Get rid of the top laners that Jace doesn't particularly want to play against. We've still got things like Jax open, Renekton open. So there are a lot of things that the Jace might tend to struggle with that we could see Nativz just get rid of.
See what happens here. As you say, a lot of options, a lot of things still need to be banned, and
Lingui's not as well, actually.
Oh yeah, that has actually been a massive factor as well in the victory just yesterday. We'll go for the Azir instead, looking to trim out the mid lane pool of Luca instead. It opens up a lot of possibilities for this top lane. Do you think the Jace will still be going? That could see him move mid.
Exactly.
I think it's something Scuff can definitely play.
Yeah, I'd not accounted for the Jace flex. I feel like I've just missed 2 weeks of gameplay, right? This could very easily also be that Jace into the mid lane. So the red side flex potential actually very high for Nativz. And it makes a lot of sense here if they do just match that support role. It didn't particularly get pinched. They got rid of the Karma just to get rid of the super powerful counter to a Nautilus. They could also opt for a Braum here. I think that Braum goes very well. Renata's actually back. Yes, another great disengage champion that works very well into the Nautilus. You can actually interrupt the Nautilus queue if you time your own handshake correctly. So blue with a lot of agency, at least in this laning phase. Whether or not we see it successfully come through is another matter. But Chrisberg and Touch, with their fairly aggressive bot lane 2v2 locked in, may have to play a little on the back foot, recognizing this support pick.
Mid lane now secured as well for Vanir, as it is the Victor heading in for Luca. You mentioned the Nas deal being open. It is not a surprise if Lingui decides to go towards it. As you said earlier, though, still a lot of other options open, so a lot to choose from, it feels like, for the Vanir top laner here, as Nativz will get that counter pick in the end, though.
Gonna wait for that one to get locked in. Have to imagine, though, that it is just a tried and true Gnar pick. Yep, nothing particularly untoward or unexpected at the very least from Lingui. And now what's that final counter pick, right? They get to choose if it goes mid or top lane this Jace. They know they're going to be playing up against a Victor on one side and Gnar on the other side. Where do they think they can get the best true counter matchup? They can go with Lilia solo AP. It has been done before if you want to go for a fairly ability power-oriented build for Seabell, but they could just opt for a Syndra or something like that. Remember, Poke, the name of this Nativz composition. LeBlanc, not necessarily the champion that fits my idea of that mold, but I know that LeBlanc can be a strong poke force when in the right tools. Can also function as an assassin if you get far enough ahead. We've seen enough distorting over walls, QQE, and then instant pop back out. If you have enough damage, that one-shot somebody, or at the very least, is a very meaningful poke.
Yeah, it will force out a lot of tools. In particular, thinking of Chrisberg here, maybe being able to get a Feather Storm out easily, or something could be decisive for the team fights. It is... When I look at this route with my play-by-play eyes, I see a standard, easy-to-execute comp from the side of Vanir, and a much more difficult, spicy draft from Nativz.
Yeah, I don't think that's inaccurate, honestly. They've got really good split push capabilities as well, right? The LeBlanc in the late game, probably going to win that side lane versus a Victor if Git Scuffed has the tools to be ahead. The Jace versus Gnar, again, can go either way. But you're quite right, Vanir with a lot of Death Ball. I do like the nature of the range composition that Nativz have pulled up. If they do want to play 5v5, they need to be at objectives first. They need to have flanks warded, make sure that Lingui can't get an angle, make sure that Touch can't find an angle into their backline either. Because we've seen, actually, Verdant and Vanir alike have got these two supports who are incredible at engaging. Touch has done a great job on the Nautilus so far this season at just finding people who are slightly mispositioned. And against this Nativz roster, every single champion is one you feel free hooking. So Touch has just got free reign to go, oh, I want anybody? Oh, well, I'll just take whoever's in the front. And they're going to get blown up.
Yeah, exactly. There's not too much tank, as you said, on the side of Nativz. Let's see if they figure that out, or how they want to play this. They, at the very least, have a plan. I am sure of that. I'm excited to see if it will work out in Nativz, as we talked about, still looking for that first win. And I mean, it's not the fact that they're not trying different methods to get a win. I mean, their playstyle is definitely a bit around the shop with a lot of creative ideas. Just, you know, they're throwing a lot of ideas here at the screen, but nothing is really sticking. This might be the one, but in the end, personally speaking, I very often just say, I know what Vanir wants to do with this comp. I've seen it work before. I can see it in my head working again.
Yeah, it's what you would get, and I don't mean this in a bad sense at all. But if you're giving a team who are just starting to mesh and starting to play together, giving 5v5 is exactly how I would go about it. Now, I don't know if that's the way that Vanir are going about it, and of course, if it's a style that is working for them, more power to them, because it is what has been finding them wins, and that's exactly what they need here. This is not the game, and honestly, none of their games going forward are ones where they can feel confident to go, ooh, let's try something a little bit different. We're against the 011 team. This is where we can get a little bit spicy due to the stakes and the implication of this matchup with them potentially going to playoffs, losing here, really, really hurting their chances at going to playoffs in particular. This is, again, just another game where you can consolidate your fundamentals. And I would hope to see Vanir just dominate Nativz if I'm a Vanir fan, right? Because they need to find this win. We've touched on it time and time again. If they don't find a convincing win here, it really makes it a bit sketchy going forward.
And I want to add to the point you're just making, especially about the picks, right? When should you really experiment? I remember Vanir in the beginning of the split were a bit more experimental, especially down in that bot lane. They didn't stick to the stock standard bot lane of a tank, engage support, and a hyper carry scaling AD carry, which I really like seeing Chrisberg on. They went for the Lucian army time and time again, when it clearly didn't work out. They lost quite a few games on that, and when they started going towards this more traditional bot lane style, it has worked out better for them, and I'm happy for that change. It's one that I wanted to see from Vanir, and now that they've made it, I feel way more confident in predicting them as victors.
Particularly when I think that Lingui just gets such a staple pick for himself, right? He has played so far. This is going to be his 7th game of Gnar in the NLC. Obviously, all the other champs combined tally up to about 5, right? So it's not even close. And there are like 4 other champions in that pool. This is pure comfort for Vanir. If they can use this Sejuani Nautilus combo down on that bot side, there's a Renata sitting there who is going to be exceptionally squishy. Just because she's got a 2nd life doesn't mean that she gets to utilize it all that much. That 2nd health bar might not be too important if it's a 3v2 and your early game Sivir isn't fully off to the races. You can already see with Ploxy on this top side, will be down in that bot lane fairly soon. So if Nativz aren't careful with their wave management, Ploxy could get down there. A hook from touch is all they'll need to start the ball and potentially find an early kill.
A positive thing for Nativz about that is that they should know where Ploxy is heading. Having had vision on him from his first camp, they know he's starting topside. They just see the pings come through, so they know where he'll be walking towards. They need to be able to play around this, otherwise, as you say, they could be in deep trouble. Sebal starting on that top side as well should be able to move down towards the bot side and somewhat match Ploxy.
I'm interested for what I see from Sebal because there's a couple like just really interesting gank or pathing routes that you can take, and this is one of them. Started on his own Raptors, he's going to delay his red buff, give him a little more dueling power through this early stage, just because you're not wasting the time of the red buff clearing your own camps. And if you can get out of your top side, out of your red side, at the same time the enemy jungle's getting out of their blue side, you're onto a pretty good track, just because those Krugs can take a very long time to go down. A little bit behind the necessary Lilia curve, but it's a good window now for Sebal to match a gank in that bot side. You can already see Nativz have their lane in a slightly precarious position. It's looking a lot better for a Ploxy gank than it is for a Sebal gank, but as long as there's a counter there, a 3v3 on this bot side might just end up looking fairly tepid.
Yeah, Touch clearing out some vision of his own as well. I do believe he has not put down a ward though, so there is still the possibility of Sebal finding a way in, as they are both, rather not actually. Sebal is not on his last camp, he still has the blue to go, as Ploxy is on the Krug, so he's definitely ahead in terms of the jungling pace, and I do believe Dredgefly was just used down on the bot lane, but didn't seem to be able to connect on anyone, as it is now Vanir pushing out that bottom wave.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just wrong. Ploxy farming up fast enough, has priority from his bot lane, means that they secure this Scuttle Crab as well. So a really good early start for Vanir, making sure that their bot lane is safe. They don't necessarily find any kills in the bot lane just yet, but they've still got plenty of time for that to happen. And they might look to cross into the top side jungle here. They don't have control over that top wave, which I think is what's led Ploxy to heading back to base as opposed to crossing into the top side and trying to find that double crab onto Sebal. So overall, a fairly neutral start to this game so far. And if we look into the big picture, who does that favour? Well, I'm always going to give it to Vanir. Oh,
yeah, I mean, stuff is definitely happening. First one already taken, but here comes a return kill for Nativz as Sebal finds one. Remix still battling out in this bot lane. Very low on HP, needs to be careful. The minion blocks can definitely be felt. Has the flash, has a good spell shield though. Might try and turn this around, but unable to, as the damage just not quite there. An explosive couple of fights. Now Sebal just dies to the turret.
Yeah, the Observer doing us a favour there. We don't need to see what
I don't think we wanted to see.
Okay, so 1-0 in the bot lane, and that was 2 versus 2, and then a gank in the mid lane from Sebal to find the kill onto Luca. So a good now position for Scuffed to be in. Has that first assist goal, not quite first blood, obviously, as that went down in the bot side, but an opportunity to snowball a little on this LeBlanc. You're slowing down the Victor scaling as well, and going for the Ignite on or as Scuffed. You want to find those early kills. Actually going to be a little disappointed maybe that Sebal's the one that finds it. Nevertheless, the kill was found all the same. Gets to go back to mid lane with a huge wave under his turret. It's not by any means the end of the world that Sebal doesn't find it. And now with that lead, presumably in experience, should be okay. Shout out Remix, not window shopping, waiting for the base to reset.
I was wondering that as well. I saw it on the minimap and thought I would definitely die in this scenario. In the end, though, I'm not Remix. He's definitely better than me, so he's able to play that just that tiny bit better. It's a very nice spell shield, gets him out efficiently. It has been a chaotic early game, I think that is fair to say, but pace still seems pretty high here as they're constantly pushing up in each other's lane, looking for the plates, looking to build some leads.
And as I was mentioning, right, we're just about to get into the discussion of our late game scaling, but for Vanir, again, it goes their way. Their ease of execution, which is something you'd highlighted in the draft, Duckling, is a lot lower, right? Or a lot higher, excuse me, in terms of how easy it is for them. They run in with Ploxy, Lingui Touch, and they allow Chrisberg and Luca to do damage. Where Natives have to have 5 people playing their champions perfectly in order to, come out on top in these team fights, it feels like. So we're looking at Vanir to have that ease in the late game, make it a lot safer, at least, as a transition into that late game stage, where Natives have the onus of execution in these early stages to get a lead and find an advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely putting the pressure on themselves. It's another good spell shield down in the spot lane. Keeps Remix safe. However, these small trades are happening as the Drake seems to be the target. It was initially started up by Vanir, but they backed off, didn't want to fight for it. Now Natives, though,
this is
they
risky.
seem to be down for the fight. 3k and dropping. Smite available for both junglers. Level 6 for Seabell, though. No level 6 for Ploxy. Blue misses the handshake. The Drake will simply be secured, and there will be no fight around it.
Yeah, Vanir actually helps do Drakes incredibly quickly just with that auto-attack passive. So a nice window found from the native jungler to get an objective in their favour. And now can go back to base. Look at the timer on that Drake take as well. 7.5 minutes means you can go back up to that top side, refocus your attentions, and try and get a Rift Herald as well. If you get both early game neutral objectives, it is that early game that you're looking for as a composition that we're hoping can find some snowball.
Explosive trade up here in the top side, but Lingui able to just spoot our way as a lot of trading continues to happen, and it might turn into more fighting soon with that Rift Herald now spawning on the map as well.
Just in level 6 actually for Ploxy. I was looking at the timer, right? Level 5 at 8 minutes. Potentially a little bit behind the curve, more than I would have hoped for. But this is that rotation up to that top side, right? They got the Drake in the bot lane. Everybody resets, heads back out toward this top side. But there is a Scuttle Crab down. And now Natives, they've got to, it's face checking when they've... Oh, okay. He's fine. He got the Arctic Assault scuffed. Misses, unfortunately, the blind Q over the wall. Sweeper from Ploxy. Actually does a good job.
I mean, he had a very bad trade up there against Spooder. Not quite sure what happened, but it should be enough for Scuffly to just jump in, get the secure kill, and that's your first kill on the mid. And you mentioned this earlier, Ruth. They wanted kills on Scuffed early on, and that's a great way to start yourself off.
Are they going to try and transition this into more, though? The Herald would obviously be nice. They found a kill. Let's see if they can find an objective off the back of that. And I'm looking at the minimap right now. Ploxy's moving his way into that bot side jungle. It looks like Vanir is setting up for a play in the bot lane, when Native haven't actually found anything on this top side. They found that one kill, but haven't turned that into an objective at all. Looks like it's just going to be camps stolen away, where Vanir actually got all of their camps that they wanted on that top side. Yes, it's the one kill, but the extending of the kill into more just wasn't present for Natives.
Yeah, it's, when you're an O-level 11 team, these are the things that I'm expecting to see, right? You're getting some good stuff down, but it's never really expanding into you're getting a full meal. You're mainly getting a side dish, or maybe you're getting a main dish, but you're not getting the sides, then it's, you're able to get some of the things, but you're not quite able to get the full menu. Yeah,
what we want from them is to have taken that Rift Herald, or at least taken all of those topside camps. There were a lot of windows for Native to have extended this lead a little further. But it's Vanir who are now looking in this mid lane. Scuff's W times out.
Scuffed, yeah, he miscalculated that, and he will be punished by losing his flash. A massive cooldown gone just due to some poor miscalculation there.
Yeah, I mean, miscalculation, misexecution, the chain goes wide, and all of a sudden your trading habits are just gone, unfortunately. So it's Vanir who are able to take this Rift Herald with the roam up from touch from the bot lane, and Balloon now escorting the bot lane wave in. It buys Remix a base, one that he is able to take, but he's not got the mythic yet. Chrisberg went back to base, finished off a full Gale Force. In comparison, Remix sitting in base is yeah, got nothing. Didn't get that mythic finished. And now the Xayah heads into a laning phase with an item advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely something Vanir are happy about. They do have a slight goal lead. They were behind for a couple periods of this game. Obviously not a massive amount, but the goal lead that Vanir now have will continue to grow us in this mid lane. Luca has been slowly chipping away at the plates, getting the help of the Herald. Means 3 plates have now been taken here compared to absolutely none from the side of Nativz.
So like we said, Nativz with the burden of execution, they've not executed just yet. There's still a window for them to do so. Normally I tend to say the first big team fight, you have until that window. And if you can execute better in that team fight and find a lead from there, then you're still in good footing. But at the minute, Nativz are just biding their time a little bit too long for my own liking. The longer they wait, the harder that first team fight gets, and the more difficult they're going to find it to find their first win of the season. Vanir are quite happy to play this game nice and slowly, and with the one small mistake that Scuffed made, they're even feeling comfortable, like we've seen, to put that Herald down in the mid lane, put this Victor very far in the lead in that 1v1. Both of our mid laners actually went for tier 2 boots first, so delaying their mythics quite substantially. But it's a Rod of Ages build for Luca. Just that extra bit of HP on the Victor, it's going to make him again incredibly difficult to take down in a side lane later on for Scuffed.
And talking about the side lanes, one might be in trouble as the rotation is coming through from Nativz. Yet another good trade from Spooder, but
Wow.
the turret will make it a 1-for-1. It is yet again Nativz getting something but losing more as they lose plays in the mid lane as well.
And I was going to say, if we take a look at Luca, pushes that wave in instantly, has got that laser upgrade, isn't bound by the early game Victor wave clear anymore, and can force these plates, has taken a 4th one for the mid lane Victor right now. And if he can find that 5th, obviously going to be feeling very confident. The Drake taken as well for Vanir. It is a Chemtech pre-soul, which is very nice for our teams to see. It means that we get a soul that has at least some agency and some bearing on how the game gets played out. A Mountain Soul, again, if this goes to Vanir, is going to be exceedingly powerful because they're going to get at the very minimum 3 Drakes, which on the front lines are going to be exceptionally good at boosting up those stats. But also it means that this composition that pokes heavily from Nativz has to go through that extra shield before they're doing any damage that sticks.
The fact that even if Lingui didn't manage to get a kill back there, this would still have been a win overall for Vanir, shows how hard that situation really was for Nativz. Losing a Drake, losing a couple more plates, and only getting that 1-for-1 up in the top side is not a situation Nativz wanted to find themselves in, as they're the one pulling the trigger, but they're the one losing the full-on fight as well. If we look at the broad perspective, which is just such a deflating feeling for this team who's still looking for that first victory, delaying a couple mythics. As you said, the tier 2 boots Scuffed behind as well over Luca, who hasn't gotten any kills or assists perhaps, but he has gotten 4 plates in the mid.
Yeah, it's gonna be way up in gold, just in terms of the farm that we can see the plates as well. They're actually fairly even. You know, the 2 kills, I was expecting those to not quite be as impactful. Those plates must have been split, right, with the Rift Herald. Spooder's dead on this top side, so
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
He's very dead. Able to do a bit of damage back, but not enough for Scuffed to really come in and get the kill, as a good gank there from Vanir.
And once again, Scuffed roams out of his mid lane. A plate goes down. Unfortunately, there are no more plates after this one. Luca likely going to be able to, there we go, take the first turret in the mid lane. Opens up now Vanir to the rest of the native jungle. And again, just these early game plays from Nativz, not quite fully fleshed out. Not quite working in their favour. And this time when Scuffed goes up to the top side, there's a spare jungler waiting for Vanir. It's the first time we've really seen Ploxy there, but boy oh boy is it impactful.
Oh, and Sebal now might be the one caught out touch with the depth charge as well. You can't flash away from that. It's even underneath the turret. Sebal will just fall. It is a situation that keeps going from bad to worse as they just want to get something back. Should likely find Lingui here. It is going to be taken down by Baloo, but now he's the one with the second chance to get back alive, but he won't be able to redeem himself as 2 fall into the hands of Luca. Scuffed trades back on touch, but it's still a fight that Nativz is losing. It is Luca and Vanir who are winning.
3-0-1 on this LeBlanc. Scuffed probably just walks it out. There's a very strong chance that Vanir just like, yeah, we don't want to chase the LeBlanc. This time though, potential things going their way. Ploxy
Looking to catch on to Scuffed. Luca is rotating down as well. I mean, Scuff could look towards the mid lane and get help of Remix, but now, though, with the TP in as well, Lingui will be zoning off from that one. I mean, he's trapped between a rock and a hard place. He can only jump
ulti.
in the wrong direction. As you say, he does have ulti, so I guess he's out. As the Magician finds his way out. It's nice, but it's just a consolation prize in the fight, it feels.
It's not like this LeBlanc has a shutdown, and that speaks to how poorly this game's actually going for Nativz. A really good hostile takeover comes through, and you just start to think, maybe if Touch goes down there, we can see Baloo revive and use those spells to keep the team alive a little bit longer. Not the case, though. Scuffed, again, not quite landing with those ethereal chains, and it delays the kill by long enough to mean that Baloo goes down, and it just gives this sticky situation for Nativz that just keeps getting worse. They're now 2,500 gold down up against the composition that team fights exceptionally well come that late game stage. Luca almost finishing the Archangels on that reset as well. So once this 2-item Victor comes to life, he's going to be exceedingly safe, has already 2.2 thousand health in his pool, which is a lot for Scuff to try and get through. Recognizing that, has opted into the Liandry's. It's double Liandry's for the mages so far for Nativz, and honestly, they're going to need it because the Vanir squad, they got a lot of health to go around.
Yeah, I really do agree with you, because it's very much, yes, Nativz are almost getting an even fight, or maybe they're the one winning a fight actually by getting one more kill on their opponent, but across the map they're just being stretched a bit too thin and losing slight margins here and there, because every time they take a fight, even if that fight turns into 1-for-1, they get further and further behind. At the beginning it was 400 gold, as you said, 2.3 or 4, whatever, just 30 seconds ago. After a couple more fights, which were somewhat even, it is the neutral objective, it is the extra plates, it is the turrets that Vanir are able to get extra. That just builds this lead. This fight, though, is a kill back for Nativz. It is onto the hands of Baloo, so it's not the right target, but it's more gold to Nativz.
And it's more than just the kill here, Duckling. There should be a dragon secure for them as well. Hoping that they can transition this into that objective as we see Scuff moving down from that top side. Wasn't able to take the turret. Remember, no TP on this LeBlanc, so you can't have that cross-map pressure. But with one target down, and that's the target with all of the wards, all of the setup as well, Vanir can't face-check this. Nativz, led by their jungler here, taking down the dragon and putting at least a slowdown on how fast this game was getting out of their way.
Oh, I mean, Scuff is looking for more. Crispberg force to Gale Force away. No Summoners burned. And is able to get out. Yeah. No ulti either. Yeah, Crispberg, certain enough that there wasn't enough damage on Scuff to take him down. And in the meantime, Luca rotated up towards the top and used the Chaos Storm to clear the wave quicker so he can get himself another turret. So this time around, though, it is still a better trade for Nativz, getting a kill and the Drake, but they're still losing something. Vanir just keep getting something back every time Nativz say, now we're the ones making a move. Many are making so many great counter moves to counteract the leads that Nativz are trying to build.
And it is just good, honest League of Legends. You're making a play on one side of the map, I will make a play on the other side. Vanir understanding their fundamentals and getting advantages from it, or at the very least, stopping the advantages being astronomical from Nativz. Remember I said it's that first team fight that is the sort of cut-off point, right? If we see Vanir take that first big-scale team fight, I really start to worry for Nativz. At the minute, I'm not too worried just yet, because if they execute on that 5v5 well, there's a very real possibility that Nativz can find a win in this game. They have range, and range is king when it comes to late-game team fightings. If they can play around it well enough, set up some wards, set up the vision so that they can't get flanked by Touch, Linguine, or Ploxy, those three members with Engage, then I'm very great. Then I'm actually kind of hopeful for how well Nativz will be able to play out these team fights. But it is that execution barrier which we've seen just lacking from them so far.
Wow. I mean, Scuff just does no damage. Luke, you mentioned 2000 HP was going to be a lot to cut through. Luke has no problem cutting through the HP bar of Scuff, but Scuff hit double Q, W, E as well. He hit all his abilities, and it didn't do anything on Luca. He didn't even proc the shield. No, there isn't the shield on Sarath yet, because it hasn't been upgraded, but it wasn't even have been needed. I mean, the mid lane difference is just so big there, as I guess we're... Are we watching Tenet?
I think it goes...
I think we're watching Tenet here.
Oh yeah, we are watching it go backwards. That's not what we want. We want it to go forwards. But look at the items quickly. This is 2-item Victor versus 1-item LeBlanc.
Oh no.
Just a fundamental misunderstanding of your power level, I feel like, if you're Scuffed. This is a fight that you're very likely never going to win. And again, saddened by seeing this because it's these types of errors that are costing Nativz their games. You shouldn't be going for that period if you're scuffed. Was never a fight that you were going to win. Just a raw stat check tells you that, and unfortunately it just wasn't made. So it's great from Luca to be able to find the kill in response. It wasn't really a response, it was more of a sort of swatting a flyaway as opposed to an all-out brawl. But at the end of the day, the fact that Luca has that presence of mind to be able to find the kill is a reason why Vanir are challenging for the playoff spot.
And with the Baron now on the map, there's yet another reason to pull a 5v5 team fight. And it will not be something Nativz would likely win. At first, though, they have to clear the second Herald that is spawned down mid lane, taking down yet another turret, the fourth of the game for Vanir, as this goalie continues to slowly but surely just grow. And Vanir are feeling more and more comfortable. You can start seeing it in the items now as well. 2.5 items on Crispik, just 1.5 on Remix. In the mid lane as well, 1.5 items to 2.5 items. They're just that... I mean, on the carries, is actually quite far ahead now on the side of Vanir.
And we're looking then where it's not so far ahead for Nativz. That top lane matchup, we have got 2 items for Spuda. Not quite completed the Muramani yet, which would be that big boost to the Nativz damage profile. But working there as fast as possible, right? Looking to stack that tier up ASAP, go into the Cyrildas or whichever third item of choice you're going for. You tend to want those slows on the Jace with the Shock Blast just to be a little bit more of a nuisance. But we've still got this Drake now spawning 55 seconds away. Nativz, if obviously we talked about the benefits of if Vanir get this, if Nativz get this, it gives them the front line that they're missing.
Well, I mean, that's actually a good chain, but yet again, Crispik very safe on those summoners, hasn't used anyone yet, and now it's the re-engage from the side of Vanir onto Spuda, but they're unable to take him down. Crispik dishing out good damage onto Seabal. The Feather Storms come out as well. Seabal very low but not gone. Spuda too far forward though, and he gets caught out. Lingui trying to chase down the other targets as...
Oh, so close.
It is scoffed, unable to assassinate Crispik. The Ignite is ticking though, and Crispik has to run as Remix. Finds another one. It is a close 5v5, not yet in the favor of Vanir. Crispik solo has to be careful. Flash available. With the Drake on the map, it looks to be secured by Nativz.
Oh, it's
unless something happens, Luca. Still full HP. Nice block from Remix. Good damage back in the Drowsy as well. Lilting Lullaby. And good damage on the side of Remix. But it's unable to find Luca. On the other hand, though, Crispik falls. How does he fall with both summoners? Did Seabelth catch him out? I didn't see it. In the end, though, it is actually Nativz who wins the fight.
3 for 2, and then the Dragon. It was a double fight, really, there. We saw the 5v5, which was long and drawn out across multiple areas of that mid lane, and then a re-engaged 3v3 after the fact that Nativz come out on top of. The true battle for the Dragon goes their way. Now on Soul Point, we're going to look at the initial engage, right? You look at that first start and we get to see the value of Renata versus Nautilus. 2 go forward and they immediately start hitting themselves because they can't get out of danger. Can't get out of that hostile takeover, and they start to wail away on one another. We've got more fighting though.
Yeah, more fighting. A Scoff, another one caught out, taken down. 40-second death time on him. Pings already on the Baron. Vanir, they want to move quickly here.
It looks like he was going for a play onto touch and just never got to move after he went for it. The CC chain between a Nautilus, a Sejuani, potentially a Victor there as well. Just too much. And now Remix, Spuda, and Seabal have got to do the miracle. 5 versus 4.
Seabell, no flash, but the Narcos wide. That's a very good hostile takeover, but instantly cleansed away by Crispik, who continues to be in the front line, dishing out good damage. Luca takes a bit of poke from Spuda, but no one else falls other than Lingui. But Nativz, they crucially stop the Baron.
And they can take first turret in the mid lane for themselves as well. They're going to be able to translate this into an objective, an overreach by Vanir. Really not recognizing the capabilities of this Nativz roster. They did get hostile takeover, but there's still a lilting lullaby for Seabal. The reason that Crispik is actually able to walk away without using flash or ult there is because it was on cooldown when that Swirl Seed hit. So a 1-for-1 in the long trade plus a turret for Nativz. They're giving what for? They're on Soul Point, and they're currently in a very strong position to take these fights, playing them well with the range as we've highlighted. This composition can win team fights, presuming they play well. We've seen Scuffed get caught out a couple of times due to the CC of the Nautilus and the Sejuani. Maybe we see a late game pivot away from these Sorcerer's Shoes into some Mercury Treads, but there have been very good tools from everywhere else.
Oh, I don't like where this game is going. Honestly, I love it. It's the nerves, it's
drowsy.
the intensity of the game, as you say. Lilting Lullaby comes through. It is not what I expected when I saw the first 60 minutes. The lead was just continually building, but it has actually decreased over the past 5 minutes. We've seen Nativz be able to win the fight. And that's what you talked about, right? We needed to see the first 5v5 to really judge where this game was going, the chase. Not quite able to lock down Chrisberg. He's had those connected. A fight could have followed. No Drake on the map for 2.5 minutes. It's just Nativz fighting for control, fighting for more map pressure.
But they're not getting it, importantly, Duckling. If we look at the side lanes, it is completely Vanir dominant. Luca in one half of the map, Lingui in the other. And I'm so glad that we're looking at Luca right now. If we can quickly pan back over, level 16 versus level 13 of Scuffed. It is not even close, the difference between these mid laners. And that 5 versus 5, if Luca's untouched, is going to go very well sided.
I mean, Lingui could just look for Scuffed here. Flash already 4. Scuffed will still go down in the 1v2. Lingui finds one. There is no Lilting Lullaby. Lingui, watch out, he doesn't hit the sweet spot, but should still be enough. Sebal securely takes down the kill, but no jungler now for Nativz because he's on the bot side. 10k HP, Baron is dropping. What can Verdant do about this?
They've got a little bit of time. Poke from Remix, poke from Spooder. The Baron will go, but can they find the fight after?
Yeah, hostile takeover comes through, only connects onto Luca. Touch low, but it doesn't really matter. It's eyes on Chrisberg, who takes down Baloo in an instant. And now they turn on Remix. In comes the flash. The Lilting Lullaby comes through, but the Feather Storm will keep Chrisberg safe, but only for a couple seconds more.
It's all Luca.
Now locked up. It is only him who can do something, but it's not enough. As Luca, as you say, just takes over the fight and wins that crucial one for Vanir.
He's level 17 with 3,500 HP and he's built 3 AP items. Really far ahead of the curve right now, and Luca cannot be stopped. Look at this team fight. There's no focus on him whatsoever. Flashing for the Lilting Lullaby from Seaball. Yes, they find the sleep onto the AD carry, but there's just no presence. The Victor, who's been left to free scale after that first initial gank in the mid lane, is absolutely terrorizing Nativz. Vanir walk away with the Baron on 3 members, a 1-team fight, and a very, very strong position to tie up the wins with Verdant.
Yeah, they tried to up the pace just a couple minutes ago. That time it didn't work out, but this time though, they saw the right opportunity. They wanted to speed up this game, and they successfully have 30 seconds now on what will be a soul for Nativz. It feels like there's another 5v5 on the horizon, but as Spooder TP's top lane, looks like Nativz might just want to give it up.
And I genuinely wouldn't be surprised. They can do very little at the minute, Nativz. It was always going to be that fine margin. Remember I was saying, like, until that first real fight, and I'd had like hope for Nativz. We've kind of elapsed that. My hope is slowly dwindling, and there is always the world where they find the perfect team fight where they're able to play their ranges beautifully, but I don't know how Luca ever really dies in this game without just incredible team fight potential, or without incredible team fight execution rather, from Nativz. Spooder's going to need to be out at range and then execute with the Jace. You're going to need sleeps to come through. There's all sorts of different lines that need to come together before Luca ever goes down. And that's imagining that he doesn't use any of his abilities back to kill people, plus stopwatch, plus flash for safety. Yeah, it's not
I
easy.
wholeheartedly agree with you. It's very hard to think of an easy scenario where you can kill Luca. The stopwatch there as well now. Still the Sarah shield, has the flash, has everything he needs, as he pretty much just goes untouched in the fights. And the thing is, if you spend all your time taking down Luca, well, then Chrisberg is still there to dish out the damage. So you have to focus him first. He's the easy one to kill. But it still takes so much time to kill Chrisberg that you die in the meantime by Luca. It feels like you have, it's just pick your poison. Which one do you want to kill? You can't kill them both. And now Nativz really feeling the pressure from Vanir.
Complete outer turret sweep secured, so all of the standing gold outside of the base now in Vanir's back pockets. That gold lead up to 6,000 at this point. And I thought they were looking for a play onto Ploxing. They're obviously recognising they cannot make that play happen. And now Vanir with the Baron worn off can go back to base, spend all of that gold, extend their item advantage even further, and then probably just look for that second Baron, because that's the way they're going to have to close out this game, unfortunately. Without a Baron, trying to siege versus a Sivir just doesn't work. But they've got all of the gold to do it. It does mean that Nativz get one more chance, and probably two, genuinely, if all goes according to the Nativz plan. They can have this one team fight that goes their way at the Baron, and then they can hopefully try and find a window back into the game with the Mountain Soul on their hands. It's a far off juncture, but it's one that they can just barely see over the horizon.
It's one that they have to take, I think, for the side of Nativz. And if there's someone who I want to highlight at this moment for Nativz, it is Remix. He's having a quite good game, as I do have to stop myself there because Link we caught out, taken down, watch out, Eep does connect, and
oh no,
he somehow still finds Scuffed.
Scuff doesn't have to die there, unfortunately. Lingui is in a position where he is 100% dead. I don't like that we've gone back in. I recognise you want the kill, but you're sacrificing a life in that position, which isn't what I'd like to see. It's not what you can do. Trading 1-for-1 when the enemy team is so far ahead typically is favourable for you, but it could have been so much better. Nevertheless, though, go on.
Yeah, we can see the point you were trying to make before about how it is hard for the side of Vanir to push while Remix is alive. And without the Baron, we just see him be able to clear out the wave plugs. He has to stand up and try and soak some of the damage instead away from the minion wave. So Nativz still able to keep their base pretty much intact. Might lose a turret here because of the man disadvantage, but the work Sivir is putting in is absolutely massive at keeping this base standing.
1 minute now on that Baron. Vanir have done a great job at playing the two appropriate lanes. Lingui, I don't want to say overextending, but being the attention of Nativz just a little too much and has fallen in those side lanes. One of the things that I'd like to see from Lingui is just a little bit tighter of a sort of weak side play. We've got some very aggressive posturing from Nativz right now. They're trying to worm their way into this river to, at the very least, get a foothold in, try and find somewhere they can get vision.
Oh, Remix might be caught out. Beyond the Hunt has already popped. He's down to half HP as Lingui. Dishing out the damage. Sebal flashes forward. He connects, but not onto the important target. It's just the two tanks sleeping. But crying out loud as Lingui now go back forward. The double jump, unable to find anyone with the Now Redemption. Heals up Native for quite a while as Luca stepping forward. No one falls. Baron on the map in 10 seconds.
But look at the ult he's used, right? All of the big ults from Nativz are down. On the Hunt, gone. Hostile takeover, gone. And here comes Lingui.
Oh, here comes Lingui. He finds 3. Baloo, gone. Spooder has to go in to the stopwatch as Scuffed finds 2 back. That is massive. And he's still out. He's still living. Flash away, but Luca will flash forward to secure the kill. And now it's only Remix standing to try and defend the base bravely against the charging in Vanir.
They're going to have to dive Remix. It's possible, decidedly. But this Nexus turret fortification is real. Sivir can do meaningful damage to those minions, even if it's just hitting onto Luca, onto Lingui. They're going to go for the end here. It's not easy.
Oh, the flash. It is nicely done. It is perfectly executed there. Making it look easy. It was 33 minutes, but Vanir did what they must. They will take down Nativz and keep the playoffs race alive.
Tied in wins, 6-6. Vanir now equal to their closest rivals in Verdant, putting the pressure on them for later on in the day. Final touches to the Nexus. The final touches to the KDA as Luca does go legendary. But Vanir, with a necessary victory, a mid-game that was maybe a little closer than they would have liked, but ultimately playing to their win condition flawlessly, I would say. They got the win with the late-game composition, the better team fighting, and they found those engages that they needed.
Yeah, they had a good composition. They had a more easy to execute composition, and they just executed it better. I think we talked about it as well when we saw the early game fights, how Vanir were just a bit better at playing the map. And I think that in the end, especially at how Luca were able to find every single opportunity to get more gold than his counterpart, just showed up in the end. They could not take him down. Plus, he dealt quite a lot of damage. I think that is fair to say. And even if Chrisberg fell, it didn't really matter because Luca was there to make up for it.
Yeah, and for me, we always ask for an MVP. It does go to Luca. For this game, had always just been, like you'd mentioned, where he needed to be after that first time he went down, finding more and more gold. We can even see it in this replay here, right? 0-1-0, but still has more gold than his enemy mid laner, who's got 2 kills and an assist. Constantly pumping out DPS. Never went down after this either. Went legendary come the close of the game. And again, Nativ's early game wasn't detrimental or wasn't particularly atrocious. It just wasn't quite enough. There were those windows where they could have found more which I think is the main issue that I've had with them, is that they find the small lead, but they never turn it into a bigger advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it's yet again more positive to take away from Nativz. It is something they can look to build on as they're heading into their last 2 games, still looking for that first win. But, there were still many mistakes as well from Nativz. This is one of them from Scuffed, a bit too overconfident in his strength going up against Luca. And at this point, Luca could just not be caught. And as we see in these team fights as well, Nativz managed to bravely fight back. I will say, I really want to give them some credit this game. But Vanir, on the same page, they read the map wonderfully and they wanted to win this game, and my God, they did.
And of course now we head into or we're not heading just yet, but like with the second game again being vitally important, we get to see whether Verdant will extend the lead or extend their lead, obviously with a very difficult match, or if this win for Vanir means that we see these two teams head into the end of a week with an even score for the first time in a long time, genuinely. So it could very easily be one of the more important wins for Vanir, despite it being up against Nativz.
Yeah, I think had some of these side lane fights gone a little bit better for Nativz, maybe they would have been able to get something. This one really being a crucial one as Link, we bought ages of time, not allowing able to get back into the pit and try and steal the Drake. We will have both Lingui and Spooder coming in for the interviews, but that will be when they are ready. So prepare yourself for that. Mentally, of course, we will get both the winners and losers interview. But I want to get back to the point you were making, Ruud, because I think it's a great point, because now, if Verdant manage to take their game off of Riddle, that will be massive in just keeping that lead. As you talked about earlier, week 7 strength of schedule, it is certainly easier for Verdant in week 7 than it is for Vanir. So Vanir, they really want this week for both teams to end 6-6 and then just have to get those upsets in week 7.
Yeah, I mean, that there's not much harder competition that they're going to find, unfortunately, Vanir. And then if we look at the Verdant strength of schedule, right, you alluded to it, that it's looking a lot easier. They do have to play Ruddy, it is worth mentioning, in their final week, but then that final game for them is up against Unique. So a completely different end of the table, let's say, as it's not all doom and gloom for the Vanir roster, right? That week 7 schedule does have a game, I'd say, that favours them, with the fact that Verdant have to play it up against Ruddy, but it's still not by any means easy. And this is a really good step in a long way to playoffs for Vanir.
And I do believe we have our first interview ready, so let's get that going, as we are joined by, I'm so happy, it's another Dane on the interviews. Welcome, Stephen. How are you doing?
Thank you. Not too good right now. I think we could have won that game, so that sucked.
Yeah, I think you definitely could have. It was an exciting one, I think that is fair to say. I really like your guys' draft. It is always spicy whenever I get to cast you guys. Can you talk a little bit about that? What makes this style of play so intriguing to you guys?
Well, I think that looking for draft edges is probably our biggest chance of a win, and that edge can come through having better experience on champions and maybe playing what's not usually played. So that's at least my point of view on it. That's why I'm picking champs like Lily and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always a fan of seeing diverse strategies, right? There's no secrets that a 0, 11, 0, 12 score isn't what you want to go for. So pulling some different things out of the hat is always a good way forward. My question for you is, right, with the final couple of weeks, or the final week rather, around the corner, is there any special dedications, special preparations that you're going to be making to just end with a win, end on a high, go into summer with big faces, or is it just going to be back to the business as usual?
I don't know if we're going to change stuff up necessarily, but I do think we're going to work a lot harder, because I do think we can go 2-0 next week, and I think that's the goal. Mm-hmm. We want to go 2-0. We want to get those wins on. I was hoping for 6, not gonna lie. I thought today was the win, and then we went. I thought we was gonna go like 3-0, but it's fine. We can get 7th, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that opportunity is still there. I have just one last question for you, Sibel, because obviously you have come in the middle of the split on a team that hasn't won that first game. How has this been? How have you adapted to the Nativz lifestyle?
I mean, I got a really warm welcome. people were very nice, and I'm just really excited to play NLC and stuff. So I came in with like a fresh mindset, trying to like re-identify, I guess, like get a grasp on the situation, then figuring out a way of playing. I think we're getting there as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely getting closer to that win. Hopefully it comes next week. I hope to see you guys pick up at the very least one win on that scoreboard. Best of luck from me and Rude. And hopefully we see you again soon on the interview, Seba.
Yes, thank you.
And with that, we're moving straight into the winners because we have a happy Lingui with us here today because this was a very, very important win. How are you doing, Lingui?
I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, as you said, it was really important, and it's our second 2-0 week, so we are really happy and still good for the race last spot in playoffs. So yeah, all good.
How are you feeling going into week number 7 though? Because there's no secrets that this is going to be a really difficult week for you coming up. Is there something that you're prepared to take in your stride? Is there extra work being put in behind the scenes? Because it's like then or never essentially.
Yeah, we have a whole week to scrim and to train to prepare next week. So yeah, we know it's really important. We need to win to be sure we're on play enough. We need to win every game, and I think we are scaling really good as a team right now. We have a win streak. We need to continue it, and just focus on our strength and try to correct our weaknesses and be ready for next week because. All win will matter at the end if we want to reach playoffs. So yeah, we will work hard this week.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I want to talk to you a little bit about your specific champion pool. It was a point of contention for us in the draft, right? It's not a bad thing, but teams are just constantly giving you gnar. It feels like this champion is just synonymous with you at this point through the NLC. How are you feeling about just constantly getting gnar? I can only assume that it's positive, but. I want to hear it from you.
I think Gnar is a really good pick at the moment in the meta, so I'm fine playing it, But maybe it's a bit too much now, and I want to play something else. But my coach like it, and he like it on me. So yeah, I don't care what I'm playing. I'm just, saying some champ for my coach, and he choose at the end. And yeah, here he say go Gnar. I was like, okay, once again, it's fine. But yeah. I want to play something else, but the most important thing is the team and the win at the end, so I don't care what I'm playing.
Yeah, I really respect that, playing for the team. And I do want to ask you, Lingui, how as a team, because obviously your start to the league was kind of rough, but now you've managed to go back-to-back weeks undefeated. What happened in the team for you guys to just turn on the switch and now win 4 games in a row?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago I came into an interview and we have this rough start. And I was saying that we are all good players, but we are not playing well together yet. And our mid game and late game was really bad, even if we have the good laning phase because we are all good players. And I think with a lot of scrim, a lot of work, and a lot of talking with each other, we start understanding each other and playing together as a team, doing the same thing at the same time. And I think it wasn't a thing, a switch or something like this. We're just hard work during weeks and weeks, and now it's starting to paying off, so it's really good.
Yeah, it's definitely noticeable. You guys are playing really well at the moment, and I think you're really good at reading the map as well as a team. Thank you so much, Lingui, for coming on, and
Thanks.
Best of luck in week 7, your crucial week. Hopefully we get to see you for some more positive interviews soon. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. See you.
Doing interviews always puts a smile on my face.
Free
that was a
Lingui,
really nice
coach.
interview. Yeah, free Lingui from the now. I mean, he is very good at the now. I can understand Flash here because if I was Flash as well, I'd be sitting there. I've seen this man now. It is actually really, really good.
I will also say,
force him to play.
There are worse champs to be locked on, right?
For sure.
We've seen on jail for a few top laners, so be grateful a little bit to a certain extent, but we can give a little bit of diversity maybe.
I mean, maybe we'll see it if they make it to the playoffs. It is certainly a possibility after this very crucial window. Now it is for Verdun to try and pick up the pace after a couple of losses in a row. We'll find out if they can do it right after this break.